You're joined right now by our Steelers insider, Ray Fittipaldo from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He's on the fan hotline, brought to you by Sullivan Super Service. Good morning to you, Ray. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, guys. Welcome to Antarctica.
Oh, my God, dude. Are you getting out of the house today, Ray? You just bundled up, hanging out inside?
Well, so far the kids had school canceled last night, so I'm going to stay inside as much as I can, but I'll probably have to venture out at some point.
Are you going to bury your head in the sand? Because I think that's what the Steelers are doing, Ray. And you said on the TV show you do with Pompiani on Sunday night that you think the Steelers are further away from a Super Bowl than they have been in the last 10 years or so. I agree with you. Do you think they see it that way?
Well, the Steelers never really commit to a total rebuild. I do think there are certain times throughout their history where, maybe they do realize it, but it's never a case where they're going to try to tank or anything like that. I will tell you, I liken this to like the 2012, 2013 era where they finished 8-8 both seasons. But Adam, as you know, they had a prime in his prime Ben Roethlisberger to bring them out of that abyss. When the talent, think about the talent that was on those teams, Adam. Jonathan Dwyer was like your starting running back for some of those games. Receivers other than Antonio Brown. it was pretty bad. And, I think their defensive stars are aging, so they have that to contend with. And they have an offense that really has underproduced for the last 5 years or so. So, yeah, I think this is as bad as it's been for, at least 10 or 12 years in my mind.
Ray, I feel like we say this every year. The Steelers need to add more eyes to the coaching staff. And you look at, even the San Francisco 49ers. There's so many teams. Most of the teams out there have a big coaching staff doing multiple things. I think we're understanding the situation that they're probably not going to decrease the coaching staff or fire anybody. But can you see them adding to this coaching staff as a new set of eyes or a veteran presence that maybe was an old-time coach at one point?
Yeah, I think it's needed. And, the one guy I had my eye on, Lou Anarumo, he just got hired by the Colts to be their DC. So, it's not going to be a coordinator, but if they can get, an associate head coach to come in here and take a fresh look at how they do things, maybe it's just a consultant. Mike Vrabel was basically hired, I think, for about 6 or 8 months. And, he kind of was in that building and, kind of gave them a bird's eye view, gave them some new ideas. And, so I think they could do something like that. We'll see how the hiring cycle goes. There's still a lot of pieces that have to fall in place. But, I would not be surprised if the Steelers do that. And I think they desperately need something like that as well.
Ray Fittipaldo of the Post-Gazette joining us here on the Fan Morning Show. Ray, what did you hear about the Bears' inquiry into trading for Mike Tomlin? How did that go, to the best of your knowledge?
I'm just trying to parsing through Schefter's words. He said there was a phone call. So the fact that there was a phone call leads me to believe that there was nothing like through official NFL paperwork channels, if you know what I mean. So probably something like the McCaskies called the Rooneys. The Rooneys said no right away, and that was that. Now, I don't know, why that story got out. I don't think it really sheds a great light on the Bears process. That they went after somebody and couldn't get them. The Steelers wouldn't leak that out. So I'm not really sure how that got out or why. But the bottom line is the Steelers weren't going to let them out of the building, and they honestly, guys, they let that be known in July when they signed into that 3-year extension.
Ray, the Jets said that they didn't want to let Aaron Glenn leave the building, and he did leave the building yesterday after their interview.
Thank God.
Right?
I was scared.
But you, Crowley, said that Arthur Smith may be in a close second in the running for head coach of the New York Jets. Can you see that happening? Yeah. And if that does happen, what direction do you think the Steelers would go in for offensive coordinator?
Yeah, listen, Arthur is well respected around the league. Despite what happened in Atlanta, I think a lot of people think Atlanta was a disaster. It wasn't a disaster. They were just 7-10 every year, and he never had a quarterback to build around. Now, the situation in New York probably isn't a lot better with, Aaron Rodgers or whoever's going to play there. But yeah, I think if this thing with Aaron Glenn doesn't go their way, then Smith would be back in contention. As far as what direction they go, guys. I mean, I know there were a lot of complaints late in the season, but if you're a franchise like the Steelers, you don't want to start over every single year, right? I mean, Arthur would probably try to take some assistance with him, and then you're just kind of back to square one. So I think the Steelers are probably hoping he stays just so they can have a little bit of stability. And, I think that's needed right now. I just think they need better players and a little bit better scheming to find more success on offense.
Ray, our old buddy Jeremy Fowler from ESPN talked to a high up in an NFL front office who said he believes the Steelers are going to try to take a quarterback early. Now, this is very early in the process.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to try to draft a quarterback in the first or second round?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. Andy Weidel drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round when he was running the Eagles draft board. I think it was 5 years ago now, back in 2020. So whenever you need a quarterback, a guy to, your guy for the future, you're good. If you have conviction in a guy, you have to pull the trigger at some point. So if they have their eye on a guy like who's maybe a little bit under the radar, a guy who's going to slide to the second round, then yeah, maybe that could happen. But I'm of the firm belief that they need to build up their roster in other ways. I think the ideal scenario for the Steelers guys is you get this roster built back up, and maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, you hit the ground running and you're in really good shape, and that's when you add your quarterback. I wouldn't mind it at all if they just brought back Justin Fields on a 2-year deal, see how it goes with him, and then just get your quarterback another year, because it's not a great year for QBs in the draft.
Ray, this was delightful, wonderful, informing. Stay warm today, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, you guys too. See ya.
Thanks, Ray.
Ray Fittipaldo of the Post-Gazette. I didn't want to cut him off in the middle of his train of thought. I think it's pretty obvious why the Bears wanted that out there about the Tomlin trade. This guy's never had a losing season. He's well respected around the league. Hey, we tried to trade for him. Just makes it look like you're actually trying to win football games.
Not put pressure on Ben Johnson.
It's another reason.
Yeah.
Hey,
Make a
Ben.
decision.
Hey, Ben, it's not your job to take.
Mm-hmm.
And we're exploring other avenues. I hadn't thought of it from that standpoint.
It's a good negotiation tool right there. Ben Johnson's like, well, I want this amount of money. Well, you know what? We have Mike Tomlin on our mind too. So, you either take our offer or we're going to go in a different direction playing that little poker.
That's good, Doran, because Ben Johnson was the bell of this ball, right? And so Ben's thinking,
because that came out after the game, after their
right after. Because you're thinking, man, well, who are you going to hire instead of me? Vrabel's gone. You can hire Aaron Glenn, but you probably, because of the quarterback, you want an offensive mind. So you're the Bears. You get creative, and you probably never thought you were going to trade for Tomlin. I mean, you explore it if the Steelers say, sure, let's explore it, but you're probably just thinking, hey, of the options available, Ben Johnson's not going to believe we're interested in XYZ ahead of him. He might believe it if it's Mike Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.